So this morning I want to ask you to, for the moment, just for a little while, to take a break from your self-concern, whatever that may be. To take a break from listening to anything I might say as a way, as something that could be utilized to help you. Okay? Not that listening in that way is a bad thing, but what I want to speak about this morning, which I don't really know what it is, but I have a feeling, it's not going to be applicable. Okay? You're not going to be able to use it. If you listen to it in a mind that is taking it in and trying to utilize it to solve something, then it will just deceive and confuse you. Okay? My intent is not this morning to help you. I want to, as it were, I know this is a loaded term, but transmit something to you. And that's not something that can happen while you're busy trying to be helped. It gets in the way. So maybe you can just put it on hold. Whatever your dilemma is, whatever you may be trying to solve, just for the moment. So the only way that it appears as though I can really speak about what seems to want to be said is to do it with a bit of a story. Now, when I got into all this spirituality, I did not know what I was getting involved in. Neither did you. You may think you know what you're getting involved in, but you emotionally do not know, and you did not know. None of us know. So I didn't at all, in any way, not even a little bit, comprehend or understand what I was getting into. And what was actually opening up for me from the very beginning. And I say this because you are all involved in this just simply because you're here. When I went to see my teacher, I was going because I had read in the back of some book. By the way, she does not have any idea how she got in the back of the book, because she was the kind of person who would make no attempts to get in the back of books, much less in the front of books. But in the back of some book, I saw this name, this location, in this directory of various meditation or spiritual centers. Since I was interested in Zen, I looked under the Zen part, and lo and behold, I found this lady's name as a Zen teacher in Los Gatos. And that was thrilling to me because I lived in Cupertino. Los Gatos, California is about a 15-minute drive from Cupertino, California. So you can imagine, being about 20 or 21, how thrilled I was to find that I could find a Zen teacher 15 minutes away from where I lived. I was afraid I was going to have to go to, God knows where, Japan or something, which wasn't appealing to me. I mean, maybe if I go there it will be, but the idea was not particularly appealing. And so off I went one morning, and I had no idea what to expect. Although I did have expectations that I didn't even know I had. And my expectations were, fortunately, in retrospect, but unfortunately at the moment, not met. For all I knew, I was going to some hidden Zen temple in the foothills of Los Gatos, California, tucked away in some misty, shrouded place. Must look like one of those Chinese ink, drawings. And lo and behold, of course, on the way there, I got lost. The directions were clear, but my following them was not. And that actually should have told me that something was up. How I got lost, I have no idea how, looking back on it. The way that I got lost was the most ridiculous way you could ever get lost. Why it happened, it's rather clear now, but at the time it was the oddest thing. I just found myself driving through this road, and for some reason, going on a perfectly clear, obvious road and going up the side of a hill, mountain, and it took a turn to the left, and for some reason, I thought I was supposed to go down this little obscure, very obscure, right in the middle of that corner, this dirt road went straight. And it wasn't an obvious dirt road. It was the kind of dirt road with lots of weeds on the side and plenty of weeds in the middle where the tires didn't... Why I went down this dirt road made no sense whatsoever. And that there was a dirt road was odd to begin with, because it was in an area that was in the foothills, but one didn't see dirt roads anywhere. It was, houses and streets, and so I end up going down this dirt road, and of course it goes to some house about 3/4 of a mile back, and of course I think, is this the house? And it's definitely not the right address. So I turn around in a totally confused state and make it back out to the road and decide I'm completely lost, but I might as well keep going in the direction I was going. And lo and behold, another half mile up the road, there's a house. And there's an address on the mailbox. And it's the address. And I think, great, I found it, the address. And of course I look up, and it's a house. It's kind of in the foothills, but it's not mist enshrouded. It doesn't look oriental, doesn't look mysterious, doesn't look alluring. No temple bells, no, robe-clouded monks walking around. So I go up towards the house, and I go to the front door. Again, obscurity ruled the day. It was a very strange house. Most houses, the front door is made very clear to you, like so that somebody walking up the driveway would have a clear idea of where to go if they're to knock on the door. And so most front doors are actually facing the driveway in some manner, right? Or the walkway that you go up, and you walk, and there's a front door, and it's right in front of you. This front door was actually like a little side door tucked against a wall that on a driveway that you could just easily walk right past it, which of course I did, because it was so obscure. And I walked past it, and then I saw there was, this sort of little bamboo fence, which is a little kind of Asian looking, which was nice, and a little gate that had a little wooden hinge thing to open, which looked kind of Asian, so that things were looking up a little bit. But there was no sign on the fence, no sign on the door, no nothing. And being the kind of person that I am, I was kind of like, or that I was kind of like, I don't know if I should go in there. There's no sign. Where's the front door? This is all very confusing. And so, like the dirt road, I turned around, went back down the driveway a little bit, and tried it again. I looked at the mailbox. It's the right the right house. So I walk up the driveway. And this time I see that door on the right-hand little wall. And it has a little tiny sign hanging from the doorknob, very small. And it just says Zazen, which for those of you who don't know, in Zen, Zazen is a word for meditation. Zazen with an arrow pointing towards the gate that I just had turned around from. So I went, I opened the gate, I go back, and it opens into this little courtyard kind of area, very open, no fences. The only fence was in front of the courtyard, but once you got behind there, it was just this big, beautiful, open space, little courtyard. And again, kind of obscure. Where do I go? I'm in this little courtyard, and it's very woodsy, and there's no more little pointers. And I kind of look around for a while, and then I see a little staircase, outdoor staircase to the steps up to the right. And I seemed like the only place one could go. A little obscure, but nonetheless I go up the stairs. And I end up on a wooden deck. And then from the wooden deck, then I see a sliding glass door, because I'm in the backyard now, and there's a sliding glass door into the backyard. And I see a few pairs of shoes outside the sliding glass door. And I think that must be it. But of course, mind you, I'd read Zen books, so I had this idea of what it was going to be like, and it wasn't a sliding glass door in a home tucked away in the mountains. It was so I looked at the sliding glass door, and it didn't have any sign, and I was kind of, do you just like walk into someone's house? You know, it didn't seem, there was a couple of pairs of shoes, but nobody seemed to be in the house. And, you know, so I'm a little intimidated, and I'm looking at this door from a distance. Should I just open the door? I mean, that's kind of weird to do in someone's house you haven't been to and nobody's there. I mean, so I figured, well, I can knock on the window door, and I walk up to the sliding glass door. And about that time, this woman in her 50s or 60s kind of comes sauntering into the door was actually the sliding glass door opened into the kitchen. And there this lady in her 50s, 60s came in, and she saw me, and she opened the door, and the only thing she said is, "Put your shoes there." So I take off my shoes, I put them down, and I start to, go in, and she opens the door, and then she just sort of gestures. And so I just go in the direction that she gestures. And I had been meditating for some time, about a year or so on my own, and I had meditated on this blanket that I'd had for a long time. It was one of those furry blankets, a little kind of fuzz fur, and it had this it was a big blanket like you could put over your bed, and it had this big sort of lion face on it, and this fuzzy kind of fur. Something that, you'd give like to a 10-year-old little boy, and he'd really love, and it's probably when I was given it, and I still liked it. And I used to fold that up into a bundle about this big, and that's what I would sit on. Because, I'd heard that Zen people meditate on cushions, but I didn't know where the hell to find one. This was 28, 29 years ago. It wasn't like today, you remember? Some of you. There weren't like meditation cushions everywhere, they didn't have them. Hell, you can almost go into your local grocery store and, or at least like your Whole Foods and get a meditation cushion. But I didn't know where to get one. And so I walked in there, and I had my little blankie tucked under my arm, because that's what I was going to sit on. And she just gracefully gestures to the room next door, and I go and I turn, and I just go into this room. Nothing said. And I look in this room, and it's this beautiful, it was her living room was really what it was. And most of the furniture was taken away or pushed to the sides, and there was these lines of beautiful black mats going down either side of the room. It was a rather long living room. It was beautiful with glass on either side. Almost the entire side of both sides were these big, huge glass windows all the way down to the very end. And at the very end of the room was a little Buddha figure, not the classical sort of sitting Buddha, but a Kanzeon, Bodhisattva of compassion, very sort of feminine Buddha there. And I looked at these, and each black mat had this perfectly placed black cushion right in the center of it. Everything was just exquisitely set up, put down. Nothing haphazard, no mat was askew, no cushion was not in the center. Everything was just beautiful and perfect. And of course, I looked and I walked in the room, and there were already a few people kind of sitting down. And I looked and I saw the cushions, and I suddenly became extremely self-conscious that I had my blankie in my hand. And I did what probably most self-conscious 20-something males would do. I kind of walked over next to the wall, and I kind of turned my back to the wall, so I was facing inside of the room, and I tried to kind of slide the blanket behind me so that I could just sort of sit down and push it against the wall like I didn't have it. And then I could kind of, glide over to the cushion, and I could sit down on the cushion. So that's what I did.